Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Psychonaut Sessions. I am Daniel Muller. This is your home for all things psycho. And today I'm sitting down with the one and the only, the venerable Chris Anderson. Sir, thank you for joining.
Yeah, of course. There might be a couple of me. Couple of Chris Andersons.
Yes, but there's nobody quite like you, sir.
There's nobody else sitting in this chair. How about that?
That's right. Just a quick rundown for people as I reach into my stack of Chris Anderson goodies here. And well, I'd like to eventually kind of talk with you about your history and how you got started, and we can go chronologically up or we can go all over the place. I don't care. But most recently, You just sent me Lost Angels. That you did with Mr. Ocampo.
Yep.
And wow, that was an amazing read. Thank you.
Oh wow, thanks, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a ton of fun. Where I first actually heard of you was Image Grand Disaster.
Yeah.
So
yep. I did the cover for that.
Yeah, which is actually, I love the other cover too, but this one really stood out to me. I fucking love it, and I love the back end of them popping through just brilliant stuff.
Yeah, that was supposed to kind of be a storytelling device in itself, because it was the front, them popping through, and then the back, them going through the wall, and then the other side is them being chased by the zombie. And then if you go to design, it's supposed to sort of reflect design, because the page where the zombies were coming towards them is the exact same drawing as them when they're not zombies.
Yeah.
So
love it.
It kind of worked.
I thought it worked beautifully. And I actually ran into the last Planet Comic Con in Kansas City, because that's where I'm located. I believe you're California. Not the one this past April, but the one before that. I ran into Kyle Strom. Kind of became, friends with him. But yeah, of course, he introduced me to Horrorium, and you've got an awesome story about pot in this one, which totally got my Psychonaut gonads going. And then, did you know that we are in a book together? Weapon Eck.
Oh yeah.
So I made a couple of contributions to Weapon Eck, and so I feel really lucky that I'm in a book with you, sir. And then geez, we can go all over the place. Most recently Ghost Agents, but you've got your supplement in heavy metal. You've done all kinds of stuff. You've done what am I trying to say? For movies and TV shows.
Storyboards.
You've done storyboards. God, I knew the word. Sorry. It's end of the day. You've done a lot of illustration work for various companies. Blah, 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 blah. I can keep trying to embarrass you to the end of the days of your amazing portfolio.
I'm not embarrassed by my work.
Okay, good. Sometimes there's some artists, when I start running it off, they start blushing and turning red, and it's like, dude, be proud of what you've created.
No, I worked hard for that. Yeah.
And you're a musician too, I think. Right?
I am a musician as well.
That's awesome.
Yep.
My wife is a musician, so.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What does she play?
Well, a little bit of everything. She sings. She does some drums. She teaches music in a Waldorf school.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So
I was a teacher as well. Not a music teacher, but just a preschool teacher, actually.
Oh, awesome. Oh, that's her total. That's her level, man. She loves that age. That's perfect.
Is that right?
Yeah. It takes a special person. That's for sure.
Yeah. It took that's right.
It really does. It really.
Yeah.
She's got a level of patience I could never hope to have with children. So you can imagine how our parenting goes. We balance each other out.
Right. Yeah, you need the balance.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So I always like to go way back when I'm talking with individuals, and I like to go to little Chris Anderson, little boy Chris.
Little boy Chris.
And explore what was it that got you where you're at now? I mean, you know, what were you influenced by comics early, or was it something else? What was the stuff that started getting you to pick up that pen and pencil and really started inspiring you?
Well, I always had a little bit of a knack for drawing, and I just did it all the time. Just a bit of escapism, even from just as soon as I could hold a crayon, pretty much.
Yeah.
And you know, comics in the very early days weren't really on my radar. I have brothers who are like, you know, like I think like 18, 17, 16, 15 years older than me. They were born, the four brothers, they were all born in a row. And there was a box of comics, you know, in the basement of their stuff. In fact, the first appearance of Swamp Thing I found in that box of comics, which is pretty sweet. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like, it's not even a reader copy because you can barely read it. It's so beat up, but still near and dear to my heart.
Hell yeah.
And so like they were always around. My dad was born in the 20s and you know, he was born in the late 20s. So in the 1930s, you know, when comics were just sort of starting to happen, you know, he was there for that. He was there for Batman when he came, Superman and Captain Marvel, and reading copies of, you know, reading The Spirit in the newspapers, Prince Valiant.
Love it.
Of Dick Tracy. And so he would always talk about that stuff, and he could draw a little bit too. So I would sit over his shoulder and watch him and just like giggle as the line would all of a sudden reveal what it was going to be. And I think I picked up on that. I picked up on the shapes that he was making. And so that started my love for drawing. The thing that really got me into comics was the 1989 Batman machine, the merchandising machine.
Yeah.
Really nailed me hard. Internet started obviously in '88 because it was before the movie even came out. So I started going to the spinner rack at the local gas station and picking up all the Batmans that I could find in comics. And then I discovered, oh my God, there was a place called Schindler's that I could walk to by my house in Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
And it was a like a magazine shop, but also like comic specific. It wasn't a comic shop. So part of it was, but it also had like baseball cards and like collectible stuff. And so that's when I discovered like it was about the time of the Liefeld New Mutants were coming out.
Oh joy, yep.
And that was it for me. I was going to draw comics. So, you know, that obviously went to X-Force, and then it went to, you know, Jim Lee's X-Men and Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, all those guys, you know, the Image founders.
Yep.
When they were at their peak. They were really at their peak when they were in the late Marvel stage. That's when they did their best work, I think. And that's what really trapped me and solidified the fact that I'm going to be a comic book artist no matter what. So that was the beginning. That was where it started.
What age were you during that 90s bubble?
So let's see here. I was like 11 in '88 when the Batman Juggernaut hit. And so, you know, 13 by the time X-Force was coming out, I guess.
We're around the same age then.
Yeah, I'm 44.
Okay, yep, 43.
So, yep.
Almost 44. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
So, yeah, that was the ride. That was the ride I took. And, you know, I veered off of it a bit in high school. Started, you know, I would draw all day. Had MTV on, listening to Zeppelin tapes, and my brother had a guitar in the closet. So about 16, I picked up the guitar and started playing that. And for a while, I was doing the comics, playing the guitar, and then producing the guitar took a little bit more time. And so, yeah, started getting into that. Moved to California after graduated high school. Started an animation company out here a bit. Because I didn't get into animation school, I said, to heck with it. I'm just gonna make my own company with some other people. I had some mentors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We did some stuff for BET intros. We worked for Wu-Tang Clan, stuff like that. And then after that, I started teaching, and I kind of got like disheartened by the animation industry real fast. I didn't want to do that anymore. And comics, I stopped buying comics, and I wasn't reading them. Probably about when I turned about 30, maybe, I started picking them up again. And was like, wow, what am I doing? I'm teaching. I don't really teaching's fine. It's a good thing to do. I'm pretty good at it, but it's not what I want to do with the rest of my life. So I started focusing more on getting back into comics. And then a few years ago, I was getting headhunted by another school. They wanted me. It was a public school. They wanted me to head their music and their music program. I would have had to start it from scratch, and the money would have been really good and full benefits and everything. And my wife was kind of like, you know what? You don't want to do this. You want to do comics. You know, you're turning down storyboard jobs that you're getting because you can't take off time from work to do them. Why don't we just try to live off of my salary? She was a teacher at the same school. And, you know, you get jobs and we'll see what we can do. So the first year, this is about 2018. So the first year was really rough. And then it gradually got easier, and I just started doing everything that I possibly could. I have a really strong work ethic, and I get up in the morning and I work until I'm done.
Yep.
And so I started taking like little jobs here and there, and working on, you know, comics and storyboards, whatever came my way, as long as it was paying, even if it wasn't paying, the comic stuff in the beginning. And it slowly but surely, like, my career is going up. So hopefully it just keeps going that way.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of work under your belt. And it seems like in such a short amount of time too, really, if you think about it, considering like when you came back into the fold.
I mean, really, I've only been in the fold for, you know, about 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
So
that's right about the time that I decided to kind of come back into it myself. Did you go to, so you went to California? I can't remember. You said you went to, did you go to like animation school or art school at all? Or
no, I tried to get into, I tried to get into Cal Arts, and they said that I wasn't angry enough or something like to that degree.
You are a little nice to be in art school from my experience. So, well,
you know what? It was a blessing in disguise, because as I understand it and as I see, you know, all I would have been in is in debt. And then discovering that I don't actually like animation. I don't like working in animation. I would have been, you know, working in a job that I hated. So I'm really kind of glad that I took this direction.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you have a very distinct art style, for sure. I think. I mean, I haven't quite found any correlations with any other work. I mean, maybe if somebody took some Paul Polk and Jimmy Hewlett and mixed it together in a blender, but still, like, you have to have this like Chris Anderson flavor. It's very unique, which is what I really appreciate.
Thanks,
about
man.
it.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you noticing that.
Well, so where, like, did it, I mean, obviously you said you had Leif. I mean, who of us that were 13, 14 years old didn't have, you know, that Layfield and Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane influence when we were first starting out? But can you track how your art kind of developed into its unique style away from some sort of like Marvel House method?
Well, it started out where I was just kind of trying to ape Liefeld when I was a teenager, you know? that was the root of everything. And then, obviously the root of Liefeld is Art Adams.
Yeah.
So I was a huge Art Adams fan, and so I tried to kind of do that. And that's where probably my cartoony aspects of my work comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as I stopped reading comics and stopped being influenced by it, it's not like I stopped drawing altogether. I was still drawing.
Sure.
So I started being influenced by things outside of comics, which I think is super important, to your development. Very much. So I got away from, I wasn't following the trajectory of the industry and what people were looking for in the industry. Right. So my art developed on its own. And I kind of wanted it to do that. I didn't want to try to look like anything, even though if you ape the stuff that's out there right now and you get good at it and you start to look like all the stuff that's out there right now, you're going to not guarantee, but chances are more likely that you'll get work with the big two.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Yeah.
But I was willing to take a risk and develop my style on my own in order to stand out from the crowd. And I really believe that if I'm allowed to continue to do that and more people start to pay attention to my work, then I'll keep doing what I'm doing and make my own books and gain my own fan base, that they'll come knocking on my door. I don't have to go knocking on theirs eventually, is what I hope. So that's sort of I took like a when I came back in, I discovered Sean Murphy, his work, and I started going in that direction a little bit. It's what kind of got me to sort of loosen up a little bit more, and be a little bit more messy with my work.
Right.
And then around the same time, I also discovered Sergio Topi, and his stuff blew my mind. And so he's always in the back of my head. But that really is only about texture.
Right.
So you won't see Sean Murphy in my work at all. Right. It just was a gateway to other things. And so, I'm very brushy. I just like a fluid line. I'm a little cartoony, but also a little not cartoony. Mm-hmm. I can play a straight, serious story if I have to. I try to set the tone for stuff, and I just really concentrate on my storytelling more than anything. The style just comes.
Yep.
I really concentrate on my storytelling, and I'm trying to always learn how to tell a better story and compose a good image. And that's really the basis for my work, is just trying to grow and become a better storyteller.
Yeah. One thing I remember from, I think one of the early issues of Wizard from back in the day, I can't remember who the interview was with, but I think it was with an artist who had their advice was, even if you just want to do art, take writing classes or something. Like you need to learn how to form a narrative. You need to learn how to sequential. Like, you are the storyteller. You're not just drawing stacked pictures. And that's I didn't really think about that much when I was young. And then when I did go to college, I decided, well, I'm gonna just major in English, because if I want to do comics, if I want to tell stories, I want to learn how to write. I want to have other influences other than just reading comics. I want to read the gamut of what's out there. And I actually ended up switching my major. I ended up getting my master's in English.
Is that right?
in the long run. And I feel like, as I've kind of circled back into diving back into my art more fully the past few years, it sounds like our trajectory is similar in a way, that it's definitely helped give me a leg up, and in terms of I don't struggle in for myself. It's not like I'm an amazing artist anyway, but I don't feel like I struggle in conducting a narrative when I'm telling a story. It just kind of comes, and that is where my focus is too. Rather than style. So I agree with you there.
The style comes.
Yeah.
It happens naturally. It's an organic thing. You can't push it. You know what the biggest poison in I find in my work is when I start thinking about an artist and their style too much. Yeah. And I start to try to bend my work that way and go, oh, I'm not as good as them. And I think about their work and the way that they would do something.
Yep.
It hurts my work in the long run, as opposed to just letting go and just being. Just do the work. Don't think about another person's work. Do the work.
Yep.
And it ends up looking so much better. Yeah. And you end up feeling so much better. There's no pressure anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. That's one thing oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, my school really was going to Drink and Draw here in LA for a long while. Dan Penosian, Dave Johnson, and Jeff Johnson would get together at this bar downtown Los Angeles. The train's not too far away from my house to get to downtown. So I would go there on Thursdays, and there was a lot of people there. But I would meet with them, became friends with them. And what I would do is I would get I found a script, I don't know, somewhere online for like a Batman story, and I would pencil it and I would bring it in, and I would go to each of them and have them critique it. And, they were very good. They were very good at helping me learn how to tell a better story. And then the next week I would go back home, redraw it, bring it in, have them critique it, take the same page, the exact same script, go back home, redraw it, bring it back, and repeat this until there was really nothing anything else that they could say about it, and I think that they appreciated seeing, somebody actually taking their advice and putting it into practice. And then I internalize all that stuff, and I bring it to every page that I do now. So that was more valuable than, $100,000 in student loans.
Yeah, totally.
Really.
I kind of wish I would have had the courage to get a little bit more embedded into the local community of artists that's in Kansas City, like Kyle Strom and Scotty Young and whatnot, because it's a great community, and like all of their advice, they're so ready and willing to talk shop and share advice. And it's like, man, if I just would have had the courage to dive in, back then, and not, like you say, because I am paying off student loans, as you said, right? As you're saying, and it's painful. Oh well. That was my path. But
writing is different than art.
Yeah.
Or going to school for English and writing, it's different. I think that you probably did the right thing as far as going to school for that.
Well, it gave me a different trajectory. Because I write books as well, and and I do have I was able to get to a point where I do have a publisher there, which is,
there you go.
It's hard to break into the book industry, but it's way easier, at least in my experience, than the comic book industry. In terms of level of effort, right? In the comic book industry, it feels like, you let me know, like based on your trajectory, it feels more about it's based on relationships and networking and getting into a community, whereas in the book industry, that exists, but that kind of exists afterwards. It's more about just submitting until you finally get a submission, and then you get into that community. I don't know.
There's a lot
what your
of that.
Experience is.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely true. When I left to do this full time, it was really sink or swim time.
Yeah.
And so, I tell my wife all the time, talking about this trajectory that I'm on. Like, it's all about sticking my nose in where it absolutely doesn't belong. I was pretty much an introvert my whole life. And if you want to survive, in this industry, you can't be.
Right.
You have to be social. You have to talk to people. You have to ask questions. You have to do everything that you can to better yourself and to, you know, be part of the community. And so, you know, you're absolutely right. That's getting further in this industry. You know, the editors have to know who you are. So you have to talk to editors. You have to start having a conversation with them. Talk to other fellow creators, because everybody's got everybody else's back in this industry, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
It's not super cutthroat. You know, I became friends with Tim Seeley, who you know, just through conversation, and he called me up one day because he needed somebody to work on Creepshow, and it was a super fast turnaround time. I had to use a television script to work off of, a 16-page television script to do 12 pages of comics in 6 days. So it was nuts. It was like, wake up and get going, and you're not going to sleep for the next 6 days.
Right.
So out of appreciation for that, he was an editor at Heavy Metal at the time, and he was like, well, I owe you, man, so let's get you on a story on Heavy Metal. So I was like, great. And so I did that. I did a story with Justin Jordan, who then I developed a relationship with. You know, just we think we're probably going to do another story together. But then after that, I started writing and drawing my own stories for Heavy Metal, and I'm still doing it now. And because of that work, it led to other things and other things and other things. It just starts to snowball.
Yeah.
But, you know, I got the start based off of a relationship from somebody that I just, you know, was talking to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was your start? What was your entry point exactly? So you quit the teaching gig, and
well, you know, while I was teaching, I was still drawing. So for the good 5 years before that, I was doing it. So, actually 5 or 6 years ago, so maybe 2 years before I actually quit to doing it. And my start was, well, I did a couple anthologies to get my toes in. But my first thing was Lost Angels. David and I started we did that about 5 or 6 years ago now. And so that was the first, I just went right for it. Did a 5-issue book. We ended up releasing it as a graphic novel. It's gotten a lot of attention. People loved it. You'll see my style in that book is different from my style. You can still tell that it's me, but my style has changed and grown a lot since then.
Oh, it certainly has, yes.
Yeah, and then from Lost Angels, you know, it was onto like the Creepshow and the Heavy Metal stuff. I did Chaotic Neutral with Mark Sable. Mm-hmm. We kickstarted that earlier this year.
I remember that Kickstarter, yep.
Yeah, that still has to come out. It's getting really close. Mark's playtesting the game part of it right now. So he's almost done with that. So then we'll get it off to the printer. And then, you know, David and I kicked around a lot of ideas for stuff to do while we were doing Lost Angels. And in between, you know, we wanted some stuff to sell at conventions. So I was just getting tired of drawing wings at the time. And I
can imagine wings would be cumbersome after a while.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of like flick of the wrist, you know?
Yeah.
And I was coloring it, so it was a lot of work. And I've gotten a lot better at coloring, but it was such a chore to color that thing and draw it while I was still working as a preschool teacher. So
can I ask you a little bit more about the process of that? What materials you were using, and because I noticed in some of your coloring it almost seemed digital, but there seemed to be a couple of panels where it was almost like all coloring and brushwork. So I'm just curious what your process was.
No, it's all digital. I was all over the place. I was really during the making of that book, I was still learning myself. Mm-hmm. So all the color is Photoshop.
Okay, all right.
But it was a lot. And so he was like, well, let's do like a 12-page little horror short in between that. I got an idea for something called Devil Skin. I said, okay, cool, let's do that. So I played with that. I did some ink wash on it. I just was trying something different with my style. And then I was like, I don't want to color this, man. let's just do it black and white. And he's like, well, how about if we spot color it? So we did. We just did red, only red. And people loved it. So
those are still available on your website, aren't they?
They are, not for very long, and I'll tell you why. Because we started, then after that, we were like, well, let's, what if we do another one with spot color like that, another 12-page short, and we'll do green. We'll do a witch story. Cool. And then let's just work our way through the spectrum. So we started doing that. It's been 5 years since Devilskin came out. And we finally worked through the entire spectrum in these short stories. And so now, this Wednesday, we're going to launch our new book, Spectral, which is the collection of all the shorts that we did.
Yes.
But we strung them together into a cohesive story with a host, sort of like Creepshow or Tales from the Crypt or any of the EC stuff.
Yeah.
And the host is this called Professor Spectral, and he rides around in a puppet wagon telling stories with puppets.
Yes.
And the reason that we decided to do that is because my friend Andy, when I was in high school, I worked at a aquarium shop. Well, I was a pet store, but I was an aquatics expert, and so was Andy. So we were the fish guys, a couple of the fish guys, and we had another friend, Sam, that worked there. We were going to start a comic company called SAC Comics, SAC, Sam, Andy, and Chris. But we kept in touch over the years, and now Andy builds puppets for a living. He's a puppet maker, and so he made a couple puppets for Spectral, before when it was called One Shot Horror. These one-shot horror stories we were doing, and we were like, wait a minute. Maybe we can incorporate this into once we collect it, we'll make it the host a puppeteer, and he can tell the story like to these kitties, like let's tell you the next creepy story. This one's called Witch Heart or whatever. But then now that the Kickstarter is happening, now you can actually own the puppets that Professor Spectral uses.
Oh my god!
So it's pretty awesome. Like these puppets are cool. He did a. Let me show you. Let me be right there. I'm going to show you. I'm a huge Masters of the Universe fan.
Oh hell yeah!
So Andy did this for me. Check this out.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Didn't
you
post this at some point?
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
This is the Skeletor one. He didn't make it for me. He made a bunch of Master of the Universe ones. He's still got them available on his site. So if you find him, Son of Jen Puppets is his company. And so he's got some Masters of the Universe ones. They're really awesome. I had to get the Skeletor one.
Oh yes.
But he made one of the devil, he made one of the witch, he made one of the werewolf, and he made one of the creep. So you can get those, but also like these aren't cheap. There's a lot of time that goes into them. So he only made one of each of those. So they're on the pricier side, but he also made some felt hand puppets that are more affordable. So if you want a puppet from the book and don't want to break the bank, there's those as well. So it's pretty cool to partner with him, and this book, we're really excited about this book, man. It kind of like told us what it wanted to be, really,
Yeah.
And that's why we decided let's kickstart it. Let's not find a publisher because they might have some insight on it, and we didn't want to have any insight on it. We wanted it to tell us what to do.
Of course.
So.
Okay, everybody has heard this. Like here, I mean, that you got to go out and support this Kickstarter. I can't tell you how exciting that is for me because one of the jobs, there was like two primary jobs I always wanted when I was a child. One was to draw comics. The other was to be Jim Henson, to be a puppeteer. And that's still an item that is on my bucket list. As a kid, I would like try to create my own puppets and stuff. And I learned, I especially loved creating marionettes. Was one of my favorites.
Me too.
But,
me too.
So that is so exciting to me. That's
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, I mean, I do have some kids that were getting ready to go to college, but they don't need to go to college.
Really.
I can just get them some spectral puppets.
Listen, if you want somebody to talk them out of going, just talk to me. You can do it on your own.
I actually don't need anybody to really talk them out of it. So they're smart enough. They're actually making the right decisions as we get down to it. But anyway,
oh, that's good. Good for them.
No, that's exciting. So next Wednesday, right?
Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday. All right.
Tuesday, the 7th.
The 7th. Cool. Well, my new book comes out on the 8th, so that's cool.
There you go.
I'll have something to spend my money on with my proceeds.
There you go.
Exciting. That's so awesome. Isn't there another don't you have another Kickstarter coming up? Well, at least through Rocco Jerome through Ghost Agents.
Ghost Agents is on its last couple days, so
yeah.
Do it now. Ghost Agents issue 3, but I think
issue 3.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I'm pretty sure that you can still get issue 1 and 2. They might have sold out of issue 2. But either way, you don't need to have issue 2 to enjoy issue 3 or 1. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm in every issue of Ghost Agents so far, and did the one for Wizard, the Ghost Agent story in Wizard.
Yep, in Wizard
as well.
In Wizard number 2. In fact, that Ghost Agent story falls right before my segment.
Is that right?
In the book, yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny too. When I was getting ready for the interview, I was like, "Oh yeah, Chris's."
Yeah, we're right next to each other.
Story is like right there. But excellent work there as well. So just from what I've heard, this is what's interesting. Rocco actually asked if I wanted to come along on the Ghost Agents ride in the very beginning. Mm-hmm. But I had so many other projects I was trying to complete myself, and then I've not been able to quit my full-time job, and I'm supporting a family, so it's like exactly. I did not have the time. That. I wanted to. It sounded amazing. It looks amazing. But I haven't gotten to know Rocco too much yet. Mm-hmm. A little bit. But I hear he's amazing to work with. So how is
Rocco's
that whole
awesome.
Process? What's the Ghost Agents operation like from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, it's great. I wanted to do something for Wizard number 2, and I was just going to maybe do, my own story or try to promote my Patreon and by putting a story on there. And we had just gotten done doing image grand design. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, Rocco, it was just so great working with you. I hope we get to do it again in the future. And he's like, well, I'm working on this thing called Ghost Agents, and maybe we can do a story for Wizard number 2 for Ghost Agents, and that'll introduce the world to the Ghost Agents stories. And I said, yeah, awesome, let's do that. Because, I haven't written anything for Wizard 2 yet, and it's perfect opportunity. So I did that story, but Wizard number 2 is it's a phone book. It's 420 pages.
Yeah, it's gonna.
So trying to wrangle all those people, like I don't know how Eli does it, but trying to wrangle all that stuff and get it all together, it took a lot longer than I think that he anticipated.
Yep.
Originally, and so in the meantime, it didn't introduce the world to Ghost Agents. 2 issues of Ghost Agents came out before Wizard number 2. But, I did stories for each of those stories as well. So, Rocco and I were on the same level. He'll kind of be like, I want it to look like, have a feeling of like this Marvel magazine Foom from the 70s or 60s or 70s with this limited color palette. So I researched the color palette and would, color it in that way. He doesn't give me a whole lot of direction other than that. I just kind of go for it.
Right.
And every time, like, again, like I did with Spectral, tried to make every story have a different tone and a little bit of a different style, and just try to stretch my wings, spread my wings a bit, style-wise on each of those. So every story that I do for Ghost Agents looks a little bit different as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's one thing I do really appreciate about your work, and it's relational to me too, and I don't know if you'll see the connection at all, but it's relational to me to Ho-Che Anderson. Do you know Ho-Che's work?
My cousin.
Oh,
we joke with each other on Facebook all the time, call each other cuz. Clearly we're not related.
Yeah. I was like, what? Because I'd like to sit down and chat with him too, because I remember hearing in an interview with him, and you can see it in his work, where he just, it's boring just like replicating the same style or the same, just kind of doing the same thing. But like you can tell with like every project I have of yours, there's something different completely happening. Like you're obviously trying to stretch yourself with like every page. Yeah. in new and completely different directions, which makes the art exciting. And it's actually been kind of an inspiration to me, because as I'm working, if I'm finding that I'm on a page that's boring the hell out of me, I'm doing something wrong. It's going to bore the reader. So I have to do something different, to change the trajectory of that. Yeah,
that's true. But also remember that the viewer is only going to look at it for half a second.
No,
so that's an important thing to remember when you're driving yourself crazy over something.
Right. Kyle actually said something like that to me at one point, of just, don't slave yourself over. And I haven't quite gotten to that point where I feel comfortable enough doing that. And I'll work myself into holes. So sometimes.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
I mean, I have the luxury of doing it in the sense that I have no deadlines. See,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is, because I did hold myself to deadlines for Comic-Con this year, because I wanted to get the first 4 issues of my Psychonaut book collected into a trade and add extra material. And I had one other comic, my Simon Myth comic, and another comic I wanted to commit that I was a collaboration with a friend of mine done before then. So that was a self-imposed deadline, and man, the amount of work that I got done and where I was able to push myself. And I do see the difference between then and now, because I have no like solid deadlines now, and it's just I can feel myself kind of lingering.
It's doom. It's doom for you. Yeah, you got to push it. Yeah, you got to just move on. That's the nature of this business, is because you do have to kick out. You got to, if you get a job drawing a regular book, you've got to kick out 20 to 22 pages a month. There's only, if you're lucky, 30 days in a month.
Right.
And you got to give time for, edits and all of that stuff. So there's, you can't linger on a page for forever. You got to kick out a page a day. If you're not happy with that panel, if it's not working, you either got to stay up all darn night, or you just got to move on.
Right.
And, like I will, if something's not working, or if I've inked something and I'm like, oh God, that's a mess. If I've gotten the page done and I still have time in the day, then I'll go back and fix it. Mm-hmm. And I'll fix it digitally, because it's easier than whiting it out and all that stuff. But I try not, I just try to do as little fixes as I can, and just keep moving, just move forward. You get faster, you get better.
Have you gone? Let's dive into process a little bit more. Have you gone to digital? Was that mostly coloring and corrections?
I try digital every once in a while. The last Ghost Agent story that I did was digitally, and I just did 19 pages for the next Tales to Enlighten book.
That's such a great book.
Yeah, Matt's awesome.
Matt King is great.
Matt's great. So I did 19 pages of that, and I did that digitally. And I I actually, you know what? There's a second volume to Lost Angels, available only on Comixology, like 99-cent issues. They're short little chapters. I think there's like 8 12-page chapters, so they're 99 cents if you want to go check it out.
Check that out, yeah.
Yeah, and half of that I did digitally, and by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, I don't know if I love this experience. Something about the tactile nature of just drawing, and so I was like, but everybody's switching to digital, and I can see the benefits of it. So I did Tales to Enlighten digitally, and I did the last issue of the one that's Kickstarting. They're on Kickstarter right now, of Ghost Agents digitally, and I got better. I like it. I like it for a different reason. It's still missing the happy accidents that working traditionally give me.
Right.
And so I think I'll mostly stick with traditional work. But if it's something that I can tell is going to need heavy edits, or if it's something that I need to kick out the door real quick, because you can draw a lot faster digitally. You can work a lot faster digitally, for sure. If it's something I need to kick out the door quickly, I'll continue to do it digitally, because I don't think that my style suffers, and I don't think the storytelling doesn't suffer at all. It's just that my preferred method is to do it on paper. And that way I also have something to sell at conventions and whatnot.
Oh, so there you go, yeah.
An extra revenue stream.
What is your preferred go-to pen? Do you have one? Or are you
Yeah,
just...
kinda. Well, okay. All right. Let's break it down. Pens and markers. I use the fine Kiritake, the blue ones.
Oh, okay.
They die pretty quickly. The tip dies pretty quickly. So I've got a drawer full of ones of these that are perfectly fine. You can write with them, but the tip is dead, and that's fine for some things. Yeah. But I like the fresh ones because it's almost like a quill when it's fresh. So I got just a drawer full of freshies waiting to go. But sometimes I fall out of love with it because it's a little too clean. I'll also use just the microns for hatching work and stuff like that. Mostly I use a Pentel brush pen.
Yeah, that's what I'm using.
Because I hate dipping.
Yep.
And they can be hit or miss. You can get one that doesn't have a great tip, but this one has lasted me for years now, and it's never failed me. But then that's what I use for like markers and things that I don't have to dip. But then I use these Raphael 8404s to brush with a lot of the time, and I use these deleter tips for my quills. So if I'm getting real serious business, these are my tools, and I use Eon Vortex Ink. This stuff is matte, and this is the best ink I've found. I really love it. It's matte. It dries quickly. It's archival.
I'll have to try it.
And then my secret weapons are these two.
Sure you want to reveal?
Brushes. Yeah, because you're never going to find them. I have no idea where to find them again. So this thing, can you see, is it focused on it?
A little bit.
Kind of.
It's kind of.
It's like, it's really ratty.
It's really fanned and ratty, yeah.
Super ratty, yeah. And this thing makes some great marks, just disaster marks.
Nice.
That's fun for getting messy. And then just this, like, it's got a really hard tip, but the way that it's frayed out like that, on this brush, I can use it to fill in big areas, but I can also use it to do like motion lines. So it'll do like 1,000 little motion lines. Oh, nice. But straight, completely straight, whereas this one is like a hot mess.
Sure.
So those are my favorites. And then I also use like this, like a sponge or a paper towel to get texture. Mm-hmm. That's the Sergio Topi aspect of my work. I love to have texture. So yeah, those are the tools that I use most primarily. I've got like a billion other ones, but over time I've narrowed it down to these, really.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really surprised how many people really enjoy these Pentel brush pens. I just kind of stumbled upon it myself, and I was like, wow, I was struggling with dipping a lot. I mean, I like it and it's fun, but it was also very time consuming, and you just get some really beautiful lines out of this.
Yeah, you can. And you can get a really, really hair like thin line with it, and you can get a messy one, messy, big broad stroke, or a fine broad stroke. It's really versatile. A lot of people poo-poo them, and I just don't get it. I mean,
there might be some like elitist kind of things, like opinions going on.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Give me the Po Man's pen. It's fine.
And I'm not into I'm not into elitism when it comes to making art. Coffee, and then that's a different story.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
There I'm a snob, but here, no.
I think, when I listen to, any of the experts that I appreciate, and some of the not just comic artists and illustrators, but just artists over time, it's literally just, there's no set material. It's whatever tool works, for your, for your particular scenario. So,
yeah, a tool's not going to make you better.
Yeah.
It's the artist whose hand it's in.
And just doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you do a lot of collaborative work. Do you enjoy that collaboration with other writers? Do you find a struggle with it? Do you have...
No, it depends on the writer,
Yeah. It's kind of weird for me. I've collaborated a couple times with a friend of mine who is a writer, because I'm used to writing my own stuff. So it's been a little interesting for me, but I do find it an interesting and fun challenge at the same time.
Yeah, I've worked on projects. I've worked on a project for a guy who was like a couple of people who were trying to turn their this one in particular, the guy who was trying to turn his script into a comic just to get the script sold. It's a very common thing that agents are telling screenwriters here in LA to do. And I'm fine doing that. I mean, as long as they're going to pay me to work on their stuff. But he was also a director, and so he was getting very specific with how to tell the story. And I was like, man, that is my job.
Right.
You gave me the script, and now you back off, and I will tell the story.
Right.
Because otherwise, even though it was work for hire, if I'm not able to do my work the way that I need to do my work, then it's off. So I left. I quit that job. I was like, no, man, I just can't work this way. But every time that it does work, it's always beautiful. Like with Justin, with Mark Sable, with Dave Acampo, Dave and I, we're just like work as a single unit at this point.
That's great.
And I'm getting into writing myself, so I'm excited to. I think I want to do at some point, maybe in the next year or so, do like an anthology of short stories that I write and have other artists draw, just so I can experience that side of the industry more.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be versatile in this industry, in any industry really. I think it's important to be versatile and do different things.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to ask what was kind of in the works for you in the future, like if you saw yourself doing some just create your own stuff that was purely yours, writing all of it.
Yeah, I'm going to do some of that. I've got a couple stories that I have in my head that I've sort of been working out a little bit that I want to do, that I will write and draw. And then, after Spectral is done, then it's figuring out what the next thing is going to be. A couple of them are collaborations that see what's going to be on the front burner, and then a couple of them are ideas that I'll write and draw. But I like the idea of writing and drawing my own stuff more.
Yeah. Do you appreciate the Kickstarter route and the crowdfunding route that we're in right now in the industry? Are you hopefully vying for like an Image or a Dark Horse gig someday? Where do you feel in regards to that?
I feel both.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'd really love to do a Dark Horse book or a company like that, just to get some more reach,
mm-hmm.
With fans and stuff. But I really like the fact that through Kickstarter I get to hang on to my IP,
Yeah.
and should anything ever be in the works, film wise or television wise, then I don't have to give up any percentage of that.
Right.
And I can control it. The only thing that's missing is distribution for these crowdfunding things. There's got to be a better way to do it, to get it into stores, get it into more people's hands after it's funded.
Yeah,
Totally. And I think there's ways to do it. I just don't have the time or energy to solve that problem. But I mean,
I think
somebody
it's still
out there
a new
will.
model too. Yeah, I mean, somebody will figure it
Yeah,
out.
I mean, it's not that new, but it's gaining more and more traction. So I think that my model right now is just building my audience, gaining more fans, putting more stuff out through Kickstarter, building up that audience. I've got a newsletter that I try to get emails for, and I don't bombard people with the newsletter. To just kind of let them know when new things are coming out and when to pay attention.
Right.
And hopefully build an audience that way, and then then I'll be more desirable. My nightmare scenario is getting a deal with Image, and then not enough people picking it up because they don't know who the heck I am.
Right.
And then never seeing a cent from it, and then owing Image for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that. I want to build the audience. I want more people to see my work first. And I think that I'm on the right path right now.
Yeah.
I've got a really good, Chaotic Neutral was really successful. I just did a book for the band called Murder by Death.
Mm-hmm.
They were just released their newest album, but they also had a comic with it. A lot like, Creepshow and Spectral, and I seem to be the horror guy these days. But it's a comic that sort of interprets their songs. So, J.H. Williams III is in it, Ryan Brown is in it, I'm in it.
Wow.
And it got, I think, almost 3,000 backers, something like that. So it turned a lot of people onto the book, to me, and they said that they're gonna kick out the Spectral launch to all their backers. So hopefully that will also help get a lot of new eyes on my work, and just keep going from there, building it up.
That's incredible.
That's the idea.
I do think you're on the right track. I mean,
Thanks, man. I hope so.
At least in the community that I'm in, your name is everywhere. You keep turning up everywhere I turn my head, and you seem to be playing it really smart. And yeah, you are a workhorse. I mean, you're just like boom, 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 and it's that kind of ethic that will get you where you want to be for certain.
Yeah, and I just try to spread my knowledge, what knowledge I do have, to people who are coming up too, and helping as many people out too. And that's why I just love this community too, is that I'm learning stuff and I'm trying to help other people learn stuff, and we can all grow together.
Yeah, that's what I do. I really appreciate about the way the comics community, or at least our local independent comics community, is right now, is everybody's just building each other up and supporting one another. And Nobody's taking shots at anyone, and it's just
there's no room for negativity in this world right now. There's enough of that just coming at us anyway.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I hope that individuals like you and Eli and Rocco end up becoming the mainstream, because that's like the mainstream industry that I want.
Well, it takes a fan base to demand it. So
that's right.
Hopefully those of you out there in YouTube land are listening to this and
heck yeah,
buy our books.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, amazing products. Sir, I think we're kind of right about the time. I usually try to keep these at about an hour. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem, man.
And I love kind of, walking through the trajectory of your life and seeing how your work has grown amazingly in just such a short amount of time. Like, you're an inspiration, totally.
Got to keep growing, man.
Yeah.
Got to keep going.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Is there any other projects you want to drop? So we've got Spectral Kickstarter coming up next week.
Yes.
We still have Ghost Agents out there. People can go support.
Couple days left on that.
All right. And
Heavy
metal. Keep picking up heavy metal, because
heavy metal. Yes. I'll be serialized. There's a story that I'm writing and drawing. In fact, I'm drawing it here right now.
Oh yeah.
Can you see that?
Yes.
It's called Something Seems Off. This is the one I'm writing and drawing for heavy metal. The latest issue came out yesterday, although they put page 7 first.
I saw that.
And it's a completely visual story. I'm trying to not use words.
Yeah.
I'm trying to really push my storytelling. And so it really screws it up. But, accidents happen. I'm not going to, go ballistic about it. But I did want people to know. Yeah.
Well, I saw that. I saw when you posted that, and I was just like, no. But, just being able to look at your work makes up for it, I'm sure.
Thanks, man.
So, all right. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. Anytime you want to have me back on, I'd be glad to just sit and chat and draw.
Cool. Yeah. I would appreciate that. That would be awesome.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
In that case, thank you very much. And everybody out there, keep it psycho.